Welcome back, everyone. Settle in. Today we're stepping into one of the most demanding and rewarding territories of screenwriting. Long-form storytelling. This is where you stop writing single stories and start building worlds. If a feature film is one dramatic journey with a clear beginning, middle, and end, then a series is an entire living ecosystem, with its own weather patterns, rhythms, and evolving emotional climate. In this session, we're going to do 3 big things. First, we'll analyze a powerful narrative, excerpt, The Empty Tomb, sequence, and treat it as if it were the blueprint for a film. We'll break down its structure, pacing, character work, and tension. Second, we'll take what we've learned from that analysis and step into series writing, episodic structure, season architecture, and the series Bible, the DNA of a show. Third, we'll close with a practical exercise that helps you connect all of this directly to your own series ideas. And before we dive in, if these classes help you grow, if they challenge you, or if they push your writing to the next level, make sure to hit like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a new masterclass. Let's begin. We'll start with the narrative itself, because screenwriting always begins with story. Imagine this sequence as a set piece in a movie. A group of treasure hunters at a desolate castle, an ancient tomb, high stakes, extreme risk, and the promise of a 3,000-year-old emperor's treasure. It has everything you want for a cinematic turning point. We begin with expectation. There's indescribable excitement. The group is charged with anticipation. Victor opens the tomb ceiling with incredible speed so they can peer inside. The emotional promise is clear. This is the moment they've been working for, risking their lives for. Your audience, sitting in the theater or on their couch, is primed for revelation. And then, disappointment. Inside the tomb, there's almost nothing. A low, 1-meter-high grave. A partial skeleton, dirt, dust, a few broken simple clay pots. The visual is underwhelming, deliberately so. Instead of the treasure of an emperor, it looks like the burial place of a pauper. Victor removes the bones, the skull, the clay pots. A few worthless bronze beads are found. The great treasure, revealed as pocket change. Despair floods the group. Most of all, it crushes Roland, the investor and leader. His entire world seems to collapse. From his point of view, everything, money, risk, planning, danger has delivered nothing. This is already a fantastic dramatic beat. Expectation versus reality. On a structural level, this is a false defeat or false outcome. We thought we were hitting a moment of triumph, and instead we slam into a wall of failure. Roland gives us our first key line. He looks at the devices, the magic technology that was... Roland gives us our first key line. He looks at the devices, the magic technology that was supposed to lead them to glory, and says, essentially, so the treasure hunting devices found these worthless beads and gave an alarm for them? The line isn't just frustration. It establishes a crisis of faith in the mission and in the tools. It's not only about money, it's about belief. Meanwhile, Maria is doing something very interesting. While everyone else is drowning in disappointment, she's holding the skull in her hand and examining it with peculiar precision. She seems almost detached from the collective despair. This may seem like a small detail, but cinematically, it's a character signal. It suggests a different relationship to the situation, more focused, analytical, or perhaps attuned to a deeper layer of what's happening. Victor, still in the tomb, looks up and asks her, "Do you know him?" It's a strange, slightly absurd line, and Ruben cuts the tension. "There's enough tension in this hell already," then tells Victor he's crazy. This gives us a brief release of pressure, a mini-valve, and a scene full of disappointment. Even in a tense sequence, A short beat of dark humor or human banter helps the audience breathe. Then we shift. Roland refuses to accept this as the outcome. He simply does not believe that so much cost and risk led to such a worthless result. This stubborn refusal is pure character. It's who he is. But it also reopens the dramatic question: is this really all there is? Structurally, this refusal is what allows the scene to continue. Now the experts, shaken at first, recover and begin re-examining the grave. They activate their devices again. This time the alarms go absolutely wild. One of the specialists steps firmly onto the floor of the empty grave and stamps his foot. A deep, resonant sound rises from below, as if a drum is beating from within the earth. That sound is a brilliant cinematic device. From a screenwriting perspective, it's pure sound design as story. We don't see anything new yet. We hear a mystery. The drum-like echo tells us the real secret is below. The specialist's line is crucial here. He explains that what they thought was the main tomb is actually a decoy, a fake, a historical deception designed to mislead grave robbers. Beneath the floor lies the real grave, the important one. This is our midpoint reversal. The earlier failure becomes a setup for a deeper victory. Despair transforms into renewed hope. The group gets a second emotional high. Victor re-enters the grave and begins digging with all his might. Each strike of his pickaxe produces that same deep, drum-like sound, echoing from the depths. Again, this sound is doing heavy lifting. It builds tension and anticipation with every blow. Eventually, his pickaxe pierces through. The ceiling below is breached. Once more, excitement surges. They carefully open the new ceiling, and this time the visual payoff is massive. They reveal a magnificent burial chamber, a skeleton, countless gold vessels, exquisite goblets, the glitter of ancient riches. The darkness of the tomb is illuminated by the gleam of treasure. The specialists urge them to wait, to let the chamber air out. The treasure is emerging after 3,000 years underground. The group is intoxicated by victory. This is the true victory, the emotional high point of this sequence. If we were mapping this as a feature, this could be your midpoint triumph, or the setup for the beginning of Act 3. But then comes the turn. Just as they reach the peak of their triumph, attention shifts. One of the men on guard collapses. He falls to the ground, shaking violently, foam at his mouth, eyes rolled back. 2 members hold him to keep him from cracking his skull on the stone. It looks like a seizure, but the tone of the scene tells us it's something worse. The joy of discovery is instantly poisoned by fear. Was this the curse of the treasure? Had malevolent spirits awakened? Had Al, the demonic woman, arrived? No one knows. No one speaks. A heavy, suffocating silence falls over the castle. This is a key structural move, shifting the source of danger. At first, the danger was external and practical. Grave robbers, authorities, risk of being caught. Now the danger becomes supernatural and metaphysical. Curses. Jinn, something invisible and hostile. This is not just a change in plot. It's a change in genre energy. We move from crime adventure into supernatural horror. For your screenplay, this is the moment where the story reveals what it has really been about all along. From here, we progress to the final confrontation. Roland tries to remain composed. He orders Victor to go back into the tomb and retrieve the golden artifacts. Victor hesitates, of course, but obeys. Maria rushes in to help. They move with speed and precision, extracting the treasure from the pit. Reuben, meanwhile, is frozen, deep in shock. Eyes wide, completely non-functional. Victor tries to pull him into action, but Reuben is gone, psychologically. Then another scream splits the night. Another guard collapses, not convulsing this time, but paralyzed by terror. He speaks of a cursed old woman, a horrifying figure with a snake around her neck. He locked eyes with her for only a moment, and that moment nearly destroys him. His terror confirms what everyone has been trying not to say. Something truly evil is present. This is when the Jinn, Al, fully enters the story. All the treasure has now been removed. Maria packs it efficiently into special bags. The wolves are seen, circling in the darkness, the natural world echoing the supernatural threat. The group is frantic, not planning so much as fleeing, and then total darkness appears before them. This is a beautiful horror image. It's not just that someone sees a ghost. Everyone sees it this time. The darkness slowly resolves into the figure of A.L. Hunched old woman with long, wild white hair, a face mutilated by repeated wounds, skin stretched tight over sharp bones, deep repulsive wrinkles, and a large venomous snake coiled around her neck. You can practically storyboard this shot. She begins to command the wolves. They advance. Roland pushes them back with his frequency device, each time barely holding them at bay. But the wolves aren't the real focus. The real focus is A.L. herself. Frustrated by the wolves' failure, she moves among the group. One man hides behind Roland, who pushes him further back. Then she chooses her target, Reuben. Reuben collapses to his knees, completely paralyzed. A.L. clutches his neck. He begins to choke. He tries to resist, but there's no strength in him. And suddenly, the key moment, A.L. notices something on his hand. The burn marks. She releases his throat and takes his hands, studying the scars as if they contain some hidden code. This is where the story plants its biggest hook. Those scars are not random. They are connected to A.L., to the Jinn, to Reuben's past. This transforms Reuben from one member of the team into the central, cursed figure of the entire larger narrative. Maria now steps into her true role. Her fear turns into fury. She screams, attacks A.L. with a swift and powerful kick, and sends the old woman tumbling into the 3-meter-deep pit. Immediately, Maria calls the others to action. Hurry! Throw dirt! They bury A.L. as fast as they can, driven by blind terror. The wolves vanish. Silence falls. The sequence ends with A.L. buried alive in the very tomb that had held the Emperor's bones and treasure. Structurally, this is the climax of the episode or act. Roland orders the retreat. The journey back to the car feels strangely shortened, as if time itself has warped, which is exactly how traumatic experiences feel. They load the artifacts, drive back toward Istanbul, and we slide into aftermath. Back in Istanbul, we shift to realism again. They return to a rented villa. A dark SUV arrives. Roland and Maria transfer the treasures into it. It leaves quickly, disappearing into the night. Everyone showers, one of the most cinematic, simple metaphors we have. Washing away not just dirt, but fear and horror. They change clothes. Roland instructs that the injured men be taken to the hospital, with an invented explanation: dog attack. The operation officially never happened. From there, everyone goes back to the hotel. Each person hides in their own room, alone, withdrawn. Finally, at 9 p.m., they gather for dinner. They sit together, yet a heavy silence hangs over them. On the soundtrack, we'd hear the clinking of knives and forks, the murmur of other guests in the restaurant, trivial conversations all around them. A cruel contrast to what they've just experienced. Reuben smiles on the outside, but his mind is still spinning. The scars on his hand, A.L.'s gaze, the encounter at the tomb. He is not okay. Victor gets a call from Salvador in Iran, checking when he'll return and whether Reuben will come with him. Reuben, exhausted, says no. He's too shattered to travel. Then we get the reward beat. Roland thanks everyone formally. He promises that once the artifacts are appraised, each member will receive a substantial share. He hands out envelopes, 25,000 euros each. He gives his core team 2 weeks off. Again, this is very cinematic. The crime success side of the story is wrapping up. In a quieter, more personal beat, Roland turns to Reuben and says, "Essentially, I have no idea how you're still alive. If that creature had its hands on my neck, I would have died 3 times from terror." Reuben manages a bitter smile. Roland asks when he will return to Germany. Reuben says he needs to stay in Istanbul for about a week before facing Anna and his daughter. Maria says she'll stay too. Roland agrees that they need to rebuild their strength, and informs them that the artifacts are already in Cyprus. He'll go there and then fly with them to Ammon. He says goodbye. Everyone retreats to their rooms. The night ends, but the story does not. Reuben lies awake, haunted by the encounter and by questions that will not go away. This is the ending of a perfect high-stakes episode. We have a clear arc, expectation, disappointment, reversal, victory, horror, aftermath. A personal hook. Reuben's burn marks and connection to AL. A trajectory for the plot. Roland going to Cyprus and Amman with the artifacts. Emotional damage. Trauma that cannot simply be shaken off. Now let's move from analysis to craft. Today's bigger goal is not just to admire this sequence, but to understand how to use it as a model for series writing. Writing a feature is shaping one dramatic journey. Writing a series is designing an entire living world, one that must sustain tension, curiosity, and emotional investment across many hours of viewing. If a feature is a closed ecosystem, a season is an evolving climate. To write a strong series, you must master 3 things: episodic structure, season architecture, and the series Bible. Let's start with the episode. A well-constructed episode functions like a short film. It needs a central dramatic question, escalating conflict, a turning point, a climax, and a resolution. But unlike a short film, an episode has a double responsibility. It must deliver satisfaction and leave something open, a thread that pulls the audience forward into the next episode. Think of episodic structure as a heartbeat. The episode inhales by raising a question. It exhales by answering it. But it never fully empties the lungs. It always keeps some air, some tension, some mystery, so that the story can breathe again in the next hour. Most episodes follow a rhythm something like this. Something disrupts the routine. That's the inciting movement. Pressure builds. That's escalation. A decisive moment forces action. That's the climax. The central question of the episode is answered. That's resolution. And then a new or lingering question remains. That's continuation. If we look back at the empty tomb episode, the inciting disturbance is the discovery of the tomb and then the disappointment inside it. The escalation comes with the drum-like sound, the deeper tomb, and the opening of the burial chamber. The climax is the confrontation with AL and her burial. The resolution is their escape, the hospital, the dinner, and Roland's plans. The continuation, the hook, lies in Reuben's scars, AL's recognition, and Roland leaving with the artifacts. That's textbook episodic design. Now zoom out. If episodes are the heartbeats, the season arc is the entire circulatory system. A larger emotional wave that rises, breaks and reshapes everything it touches. A strong season has its own beginning, middle, and end, separate from the mechanics of each episode. It isn't just 10 things that happened. It's one large transformation. You can usually feel this wave in a few big movements. The opening promise. The first episode set the tone, genre, and major questions. The rising pressure, episodes 3 to 5 deepen conflicts, reveal secrets, and expand the world. The midpoint shift. A major event redefines the season. A death, a betrayal, a revelation, a discovery that changes the meaning of everything. The descent toward crisis. Consequences grow, relationships strain, characters are pushed to their limits. The seasonal climax, the big choice, the confrontation, the moment that justifies the entire season. The aftermath and the door to the next season. Emotional payoff with at least one new question or threat. If we treat the empty tomb story as episode 1 or a mid-season episode, we can already feel the big season questions. Who is AL? What is the origin and meaning of Reuben's burn marks? Is the curse tied to Reuben specifically? What is the true cost of taking these artifacts out into the world? Is this just one jinn or part of a larger supernatural system? These are not episode questions. These are season questions. Now we go even deeper. The series Bible. The series Bible is not a marketing document. It's the operating manual for your universe. It keeps your show from drifting, contradicting itself, or collapsing under its own complexity. A strong Bible includes character profiles, not just names and jobs, but wounds, desires, fears, blind spots, secrets, backstories in world history. Things the audience may never fully see, but which you must know. Relationship maps, who trusts whom, who fears whom, who owes whom, who envies whom. Rules of the world, how the supernatural works, what the limits are, what can and cannot happen. Themes and motifs, the recurring questions and images that define the show's identity. Season arcs, the emotional and narrative shape of each season. Episode summaries, a macro outline of how the season unfolds. Tone and visual style, what the world feels and looks like. In our case study, the Bible might define Roland as the leader investor, driven by profit, but protective of his team. His arc might be about realizing that some forces cannot be controlled or bought. Reuben as the traumatized key, the emotional core. His motivation is to protect his family and escape his past, but his scars suggest he is chosen or marked. His arc might be about accepting or rejecting that destiny. Maria as the action and resolve, the one who moves when others freeze. Her arc might take her from loyal operative to protector and avenger. Ael as the antagonist, a jinn tied to a specific bloodline, driven by a long-standing vengeance or ritual requirement. Her goal is not simply to guard treasure, but to reclaim or punish the carrier of the curse. The world, Istanbul as a base, with forays to borderlands, desolate castles, Cyprus, Ammon, and beyond, forming a network of smuggling routes and haunted sites. The guiding theme could be something like, you can steal from the dead, but the dead may come to collect. Once you've done that work, you can start shaping season arcs and specific episodes. For example, if we call the castle episode Episode 1, The Empty Tomb, then Episode 2, The Ammon Gambit. Might follow Roland to Cyprus and Ammon while Reuben and Maria begin to investigate. The curse in Istanbul. The curse itself becomes a character. Now, how do you practice this? Let's turn this into an exercise. I want you to design a single episode in your own series. Choose one of two approaches. First, a character-driven episode. Pick one main character. Give them a moral dilemma, a choice that will cost them something important, whether emotionally, relationally, or ethically. Design the episode so that this choice becomes unavoidable. By the end of the episode, they must act, and that action must change them. Second, a plot-driven episode. Introduce an external shock to your story world. An attack, a scandal, a discovery, the arrival of a new character, a betrayal. Then track how each major character responds. Who rises to the occasion? Who freezes? Who hides? Who betrays their own values? For your outline, specify 4 things. What is the central dramatic question of the episode? What is the turning point? The scene that changes the direction of the episode. What is the emotional cost? Who pays the price and how? What is the unresolved thread that connects this episode to the next one? If you can answer those 4 questions, you are no longer just writing something that happens. You are designing a functional episode in a living series. And once you master episodic rhythm, season flow, and the architecture of a Bible, you unlock a crucial truth. A series is not a long movie. It is a breathing organism made of tension, release, and renewal. The more clearly you understand its anatomy, the more confidently you can build worlds that last. Worlds your audience will want to inhabit for years. If this session gave you tools, if it clarified something about structure or sparked ideas for your own series, don't forget, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next masterclass. Now close this video, open your notebook, and design your episode. Your imagination from here has no ceiling.